What's going on, everybody? And tonight we have a doozy for you for the 31 Days of Horror. It's one of our favorite horror films and a horror film that we revisit every year. And it's thanks to the master of horror himself, John Carpenter. And tonight we are talking about John Carpenter's
The Thing.
Whoa, in 4K?
That's right, in 4K glory, and you can get it now wherever you buy movies.
Hey, let's hear a word from our sponsor, BestBuy.com.
Woohoo! No shit. So that's right, guys. We are back for another 31 Days of Horror video review, and we are talking about one of our favorite horror movies of all time, and it just so happens to be from the man whose other film, Halloween, from 1978, that we love as well as his other movies. I mean, John Carpenter's a legend. We will always love him. We got a chance to meet him at a convention, and I got an autograph and a picture with the man. We're big fans of him. And The Thing from 1982, what a stellar horror movie from top to bottom. A great cast. We follow this research team in Antarctica, and they are being hunted by this shape-shifting alien. We'll call it an alien here. And just the way John Carpenter shoots this is amazing, and those compounds in there and the research team, very claustrophobic setting, very tight-knit group of scientists here in Antarctica at this research station, led by the one, the only Kurt Russell, whom John Carpenter has worked with many times before. Before this film, he worked with him on Escape from LA, so he brought Kurt Russell back to play the lead researcher here on this research team in The Thing.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite Kurt Russell roles of all time. He's been in a ton of movies, but this one, stuck in this place in the middle of nowhere. It's freezing. It's the frozen tundra. You're stuck in with a bunch of researchers, and this alien starts hunting them down. And so you don't really know which person, the research team, is the alien. So that's what's happening in this film one by one. You're getting taken over by this alien, really setting up some gory and horrifying practical effects. This came out in 1982. In terms of effects, was 30 years before its time. I don't even think there's movies today that can top this. Practical effects, this movie set the bar and showed how you can really make a great looking film with practical effects and makeup. And I guess the cast, while filming this, were really sick to their stomachs seeing these creatures because they're so lifelike, realistic. So that's props to the practical effects team in this movie, just creating this horrifying movie that holds up all these years later, especially on 4K. The restore looks absolutely beautiful.
The way John Carpenter builds the tension and the paranoia is really what makes the film work. And then when you get that mixed in with the practical effects, it just puts it on another level. Just the tension within, you don't know who is the monster here on this research station. It could be any of the researchers. They don't know who to trust. And in the beginning scene, when we first, discover the alien there, we see this scene with these huskies that get infected with the alien. And we see that this gruesome transformation with these dogs basically being with the alien going inside of them and just morphing them and changing them. And it's disgusting. And basically it just guts the dog from one end to the other. It ends up escaping. They try to hit it with some flamethrowers. It escapes. And then it just goes on from there, and then it infects the human researchers there, and they have to find out a way to find out, who's the alien. It could be any of them. They don't know who's going around killing people. It's obviously one of the researchers there, and they have to do this test having to do with, using heat and using flame on blood, and that sets up a great scene too. Just some amazing practical effects, though, like you mentioned. Bar none, one of the best practical effects films ever made, and one that is still revered today. When you go back and look at it, it still holds up. It looks amazing. It looks way better than any CGI that you'll see in today's movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes this movie so great. Not to mention, the practical effects, but the cast in this movie is pretty stacked. Kurt Russell, McCready, you have Wilford Brimley playing Dr. Blair, T.K. Carter's in it. Keith David, that's no stranger to John Carpenter films if they live. You had other actors like Charles Hallahan, Richard Masur that we were talking about in the It movie in our last review. He plays Clark, the guy with the dog. And Gary, played by Donald Moffat, was another really good performance in this film. Just across the board, a lot of great supporting cast. And you can feel, claustrophobic, what they're going through, like dealing with this alien-like creature stuck in the middle of nowhere in Antarctica. It's freezing out. It's like, what do you do? So it really has a great claustrophobic vibe to it, and really great, ensemble of actors.
Yes, it's very isolated there in Antarctica, and John Carpenter does a masterful job of portraying that on the screen and showing these characters being hunted down one by one, and there's nowhere to run. Where are they going to go outside? It's how many negative below zero there in Antarctica, so they can't survive outside, so they have to stay in. And eventually by the end they figure out which who the creature is, and they have to hunt it down. Another great thing about this film is the score. It has a wonderful score, and again, John Carpenter, he's known for his scores, and again, he delivers here, and also has a great soundtrack, and it includes Superstitious from Stevie Wonder. Yes. And a great scene there in the beginning where you're just getting to know the characters. And that's, become a classic to listen to around Halloween, the song Superstitious. And that's a lot thanks to this movie here, The Thing from 1982. Great cast, like you mentioned. You can relate to mostly all the characters. There's a few douchebags in there, of course, there's got to be, but you see a lot of familiar faces, like you mentioned. Where else are you going to see Wilford Brimley? And, you go back to the Quaker Oats commercials from back in the day, and you got Wilford Brimley and diabetes on the screen. Yeah. And he's a likable character. He's a good actor in this. And I think he was pretty young in this movie. And then, you'd guess by looking at him here, he'd probably be in his 60s, but I think he was like in his 40s during the film. So he's always looked like Wilford Brimley. And, must mention Kurt Russell's epic beard in this. He grew a monster beard. Obviously, when you're going to Antarctica, you want to have your face nice and warm. So Kurt Russell has a beard for the ages in this one.
He's my role model. Like, just watching him in his character, he has a huge beard. He's like drinking the booze, like totally see what he's going through. He's like, fuck this. But I love this role. I love Kurt Russell in so many films, but this is probably one of my favorites. And I really wish they would put out another Russell and Carpenter flick, like one more film. That being said, this movie is phenomenal. Almost, 40 years later, one of the greatest horror films of all time, for sure. In terms of practical effects, too, up there for probably the greatest. It really put this movie on the map in terms of the horror genre. People didn't really love it when it was released, but it's gained a cult following over the years. And definitely my second favorite Carpenter film, next to the original Halloween. A movie that you must watch during the Halloween season. If you haven't seen it, definitely check this out. Really great, gruesome kill scenes and really creepy ass monster. Keep you on the edge of your seat. Really great cast. So I will give John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982 a 4.5 out of 5 Kurt Russell hair pieces.
A masterful horror film from a masterful director, John Carpenter. Great cast, great score, just great all around. I don't hand out a 5 out of 5 to just any movie. And I do it for a couple of John Carpenter's films. I do it for Halloween, 1978, and I do it for The Thing, 1982. A perfect 5 out of 5 for me. This is one of the best films that I've ever seen, regardless of the genre. One of my favorites, and I know a lot of people probably still haven't seen it. This one, like you mentioned, is one of the cult films, and everybody needs to see this movie. You guys will love it. It's great. It's just masterful all around. Perfect score for me, 5 out of 5.
Let us know in the comments below what you think about The Thing from 1982, what you liked about it, what didn't you like about it. Don't forget to hit subscribe.
This has been another 31 Days of Horror video review. We are having a blast doing these. October is our favorite month. We've been trying to revisit as many horror movies as we can and talk about some of the ones that we haven't done videos before. So stay tuned for tons of great ones. We've already recorded a lot, and we have a pretty ambitious schedule coming forward with a lot of new shows and movies coming out, including that one that we can't wait for, Halloween Kills. Speaking of John Carpenter, Halloween Kills, the franchise still lives on. This one, I've read a couple of reviews this week, and my anticipation is growing. I think we might have a little bit better experience than we did in 2018's here. It's going to be a high body count. It's going to be brutal Michael Myers. Let's see. I hope so. I'm hoping that it lives up to the expectations. So we will be back very shortly with another 31 Days of Horror video review. I'm Uncle Henry Hill. That's my good mate over there, Logan Myers. Until next time, stay scared, my friends, and cheers.